Welcome to another episode of Tips for Tackling Your Research Paper. This one is on synthesizing research. Have you ever eaten a pie? I sure hope so. I hope you've eaten lots and lots and lots of pie. I hope you've eaten apple pie, and especially the kind with the crumb topping. I hope you've eaten cherry pie. You know, the kind with the filling straight from the can. Ooh, and I hope you've eaten shoe fly pie. My mom makes some of the best of this. Now, I know shoe fly pie isn't for everyone, so perhaps you'd prefer some mac and cheese with bacon pie. Yeah, I knew I'd get you with that one. Now, go ahead and bear with me and think about pies. I want to use this pie analogy as an analogy for synthesizing research. Okay, so do me a favor. Imagine you're eating a pie. Let me walk you through the steps of eating a delicious blueberry pie. Okay, so first you eat the lard, then you eat the flour. Make sure you have a sip of water on hand for that part. It can get a little, in your throat. And what's pie without some sugar? You'll need to eat 2 cups of that. Now, please, 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 go on and eat some blueberries. And oh, don't forget the cornstarch. That's what thickens and binds everything together. Yummy cornstarch. It's so very delicious. Guys, that's not how you eat pie. Okay? Don't get me wrong. Blueberries are delicious. And when I was a kid, I used to eat handfuls of flour. Seriously, I would reach in and I would pull out a handful of flour and eat it. But I was a weird kid. And no one just licks a spoon of lard. Get it together, people. That's not how you eat pie. This is how you eat pie. You eat it as one thing, with all the ingredients baked together to create one synthesized, cohesive, and absolutely fantastically delicious bite. It's the same thing with research writing. You've got to put all the ingredients together so it sounds delicious. You've got to put the research together for it to make sense. Okay, so let's look at an example. In my research, I've looked into the importance of a Netflix addiction. Okay, I found all these different quotes from various different sources. I could just go and start and write one paragraph entirely about binging and intelligence. And I could use that from just that one article. Then I could go on to my second article and write a whole paragraph about how teachers think students who binge are terrible. Are you terrible? Then I could go ahead, I could write my third paragraph, and I could focus solely on serial killers and how non-serial killers watch or don't watch streaming video services. But writing different paragraphs for different articles and ideas is kind of like eating a spoonful of lard. Like eating lard, I said. Nobody does that. You. So I've got to synthesize my ingredients to make a good pie, okay? So remember that. So bear with me here. This is a long slide. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of my quotations and lead off. I'll start with the teacher one. I'm going to paraphrase the quotation and make it work with the point I'm trying to make, which again, my point defends streaming services. I write a little introduction. Not everyone is a fan of these services. Then I add my paraphrase, which says, not everyone is a fan of these services. Some groups, like teachers in particular, think that streaming does damage to teens. And then I cited it. Next, to make sense, I added my first quotation about cognition. Okay? To paraphrase this one and to make it flow with my other pieces, hold on, I've got to find it. I'll say, however, studies have shown that watching hours of streaming services, especially late at night, can make people smarter. Again, note the citation. Take a look at that paraphrase. I still got the gist in right, but it ties in a little bit better with my first quote. It all flows together and makes sense. Now let's go on to my third one. Even more significant than improving brain function, those who binge things like Netflix are less likely to be serial killers, since those criminal deviants watch much less streaming media than non-killers. This information I gleaned from my third quote. Now look at that. I've taken 3 different pieces of information. from 3 different sources, and I made it all fit together to make one cohesive argument. I'm serious, look at that. I took an article about brains, about teachers, and about serial killers, and I made one argument from all 3 sources about why teenagers should be allowed to binge Netflix. That's pretty good. And that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to make a solid and cohesive argument based off a whole bunch of varied and random information. That's what synthesis is. Proving you can do that, proving you can synthesize and write about it, means you're ready to take on the world. No lie, literally, no lie. Okay? Synthesizing is a 21st century skill, which means if you can synthesize information, you can think critically, and you can be the next Mark Zuckerberg. That's right, he's worth over $50 billion. Or you could be the next Mark Cuban. He's sitting on a cool $26 billion. Or maybe, just maybe, you could even be the next Natalie Duvall, who's only worth $2, but has enough critical thinking skills to know to put a picture of her from 10 years ago in this video because it makes her look better. Money isn't everything, kids.